Well, hello, our fellow friends, our fellow neighbors, and our fellow shining stars. Our next trolley stop is here, and our next trolley stop is now. Welcome back to another all-new episode of PR from the Heart's children's book Spotlight series. To be precise, we have reached episode number 204. That is the 204th trolley stop here at the children's book Spotlight series here at PR from the Heart. My name is John Masiulionis, the host of the Children's Book Spotlight series, the manager here at PR from the Heart. And of course, I'm always reminded by my faithful furry friend and companion, little Forrest. He always reminds me, hey, John, don't forget about me. We are faithful to each other. We are co-hosts not only on this program, but this amazing epic journey called life. We hope that all of you and your loved ones had a blessed Easter. For all fellow Polish people out there, like myself, we hope that you are enjoying. If you are watching this episode on its premiere day, we hope that you are having a happy Dingus Day. Now, if you're not Polish, you might be wondering, well, what in the heck is Dingus Day? It's a fun Google search. It's an old, I guess you could call it, holiday celebration that goes back many years, many generations in Poland that basically brought people together, a celebration of merriment and zest and excitement for life and then some. So however you are celebrating this Easter season, we hope that it is magical, that you're giving yourself some extra grace, love, some TLC in the process as well. We encourage all of you who are new to our neighborhood, who are new to the Children's Book Spotlight series, who are new here at PR from the Heart. One of the many ways that you can pledge your support for us is to subscribe to PR from the Heart's official YouTube channel. Join the near 11,000 members of the PR from the Heart family. Those are our subscribers on PR from the Heart's official YouTube channel. And we hope that you share this wonderful trolley stop that we are now embarking on. That is episode number 204 of the Children's Book Spotlight series. And I'm really excited about today's trolley stop, not only because we just celebrated Easter. It's interesting because I went into my closet and I found a brand new white shirt. So we're talking about rebirth. We're talking about renewal. And spring definitely has sprung. We're ready, in the first couple of weeks of spring. There's still times, even when it is the celebration of rebirth and the celebration of renewal, we can have those heavier and denser emotions and feelings come up. Maybe you might be moving through something, whether it be a small challenge, whether it be one of your life's biggest storms. And there's times where we as human beings, right, as fellow neighbors, we can feel that we can just plod along, right? I can be Superman. I can be Wonder Woman. And our kids are looking at us saying, is that normal? Is that something that we should be doing regularly, when we grow up, when we get older? And it's interesting because I took this episode into prayer prior to the recording of episode number 204 of the Children's Book Spotlight series. And, what I heard through prayer and meditation was talking to God. Now, sometimes for us that can be easier said than done, especially if we are doing our part to plod along in this epic journey called life, and we can thus feel even more heaviness. But when we take the time to talk to God, we can also kind of overanalyze that, right? And that's something that God is not wanting us to do. It can be very simple, right? But if you're wondering, all right, I've done the prayer thing, I've done the meditation thing, I'm going into nature, but I'm looking for maybe a newer way or maybe a fresher way to be able to talk to God. How about through children's books? Have you ever thought about that? It's interesting. Now, like in the wonderful world of emojis, I get that thinking emoji. Right? Well, leave it to one of PR from the Heart's newest children's authors, one of our newest featured children's authors here at PR from the Heart, to help us see the way through all of this, helping children, parents, adults, and all of our fellow neighbors to be able to talk to God through children's literature. It can be easier said than done. You just don't have to think and overanalyze. We encourage all of you, our listeners and viewers, our friends and neighbors, and of course, our fellow shining stars, to head on over to the official website of Symone Anderson. She keeps it simple, just like talking to God through children's books, right? Her first name, her last name, SymoneAnderson.com. One of the many ways that you can pledge your support for Symone is by heading on over to Amazon, as today on episode number 204 of the Children's Book Spotlight series, we are going to be talking about her first 3 children's books of 12. You heard me right. that are coming out in 2024. Now, you also heard me right. This isn't like 12 books, one a year for 12 years. This is 12 books in 1 year. So this is definitely a mission unto itself. But we are most importantly going to be diving into the pages here on episode number 204 of the Children's Book Spotlight series of God, You Have Always Been With Me, Where Is Love, and Where Is Your Armor? They are now all available. Again, one of the many ways you can pledge your support for Symone is by leaving 5-star reviews on Amazon for God, You Have Always Been With Me, Where Is Love, and Where Is Your Armor? Again, they are all now available. Again, by leaving those 5-star reviews, you can let Symone know that she's doing wonderful and much needed work for children, parents, families, educators, and for those who love great children's books. The trolley is set to travel across the country, racking up some mileage. But again, trolley's got some white on as well today, too. White looks good on the trolley. It looks good on all of us. The trolley travels across the country from San Diego, California, all the way to the beautiful city, the Queen City of Charlotte, North Carolina. Joining us again here for episode number 204 of the Children's Book Spotlight series is children's author Symone Anderson. Symone, we really appreciate the free time in joining us today. Welcome officially to our neighborhood. I know we had the opportunity to be able to connect not that long ago at the Kidlit TV studios in New York City, but it's great to be able to reconnect in this fashion. How are things with you? And happy Easter. I think it's safe to say that we can say happy Easter even after Easter as well, too, at least a couple of days afterwards.
Absolutely. And happy Easter to you too, John. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much. And again, we always encourage all of you, again, if you are new to our neighborhood, to be able to kick back, relax, enjoy a nice cold beverage of your choosing. We have, of course, water here as well, too. But this is going to be a really important conversation for all of us to be able to have today, because, again, just being able to celebrate the Easter season, however you're celebrating it, to be able to connect with your faith, to be able to connect within. We're going to be talking about all of that and then some here on episode number 204 of the Children's Book Spotlight series. Symone, we always like to be able to start off each episode of the program, each trolley stop, as we like to classify them as. We all have an origin story. It all begins for us at some particular point in time. And specifically speaking, the origin story that you have is very powerful. Not to take away from anyone else's origin stories, but for you, your mission and your purpose for the children ties into the heartfelt bond that you share with your mom. And of course, Mother's Day is just around the corner, and we're doing our part to be able to celebrate the connections that we have with our mothers, our grandmothers, our motherly figures in our lives, our stepmothers. And so we take the time to recognize you're a mom as part of your origin story as well, too. But could you take us where it all began for you, when you knew that a large part of your mission was meant to be as a children's author and to be able to connect little hearts to the voice, to the love of God in the process?
Well, John, thinking back when I was a little girl, I definitely traveled a lot with my mother. She was in the military for 24 years, Air Force branch. And I remember writing feverishly just about my emotions, about different experiences and new discoveries in my life. And with all of that excitement at a young age, I would go to my mom and share with her all of my writings. And her face would light up. She would be so excited. And she would always pour into me every time that I shared my writings with her, telling me that the world needs to read what you're writing. The world needs to experience what you're experiencing as you're writing your poems, your stories, or just journaling. And of course, when you're young and your mom is like, sweetie, you're doing great and this is awesome. You're like, oh, mom, you're just saying that because you're my mom. My mother also told me as well that I needed to pursue a college degree in education in journaling. And for some reason, I didn't necessarily pursue that route in my career. I went towards healthcare administration. Even still, it was my mother's love and encouragement and her faith in God that shined a light on the desire for me to write now. And also in the process of writing these books, 12 books, every time I put pen to paper, every time I think about a character, a plot, the underlying lesson or inspirational and inspiring message, I think of her. And I think of all of the good things that we shared together. And I imagine as I'm writing these books and reading the books, that my mother's reading these books to me. And so it is a very intimate and healing process for me. And my truest desire is for all of the readers and their families to experience that as well. Love, God's love.
And even though I never had the opportunity to be able to meet and talk with your mother, I can sense that she was a very special soul, and encouraging. Idealistically speaking, we want our parents to be our biggest cheerleaders, while also calling us out when when things need to be called out, so to speak. Right? Your mom passed away nearly 2 years ago, and how much healing do you feel that bringing these books into the world, and we'll talk about each one momentarily, again, the first 3 of your 12, how much healing do you feel that you've experienced? Because it's long since been said, for those who are grieving, and we're all grieving in some way, shape, or form, but each person's grief journey is different unto itself. How much healing do you feel that you experienced through writing these books? And do you still feel your mom's presence with you, encouraging you, rooting you on? Again, even though she hasn't been walking this earthly plane, alongside you for the past couple of years, do you still feel her presence in the process?
1,000,000%. I was going to say 100, but I was like, that doesn't do it service. 1,000,000%. That in moments when I feel that I'm not writing to the best of my abilities, or looking at other fellow children's authors and their journeys, and trying not to compare the beginning of my career, I hear her voice. And she used to call me her baby girl. So in moments when I would feel discouraged or dismayed, I remember the scriptures that she would tell me in times of hardship, in times of struggle, that all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord. And that to me has been a light that has accompanied me within my faith walk with Jesus Christ, to let me know that I am on the right path, and that I've seen my mother overcome so much in her life. And I know that she's here with me now, and she's cheering and rooting her baby girl on.
I love that. And thank you for sharing the beautiful heart that your mother was and still is in the process, and the fact that she had such an important role in your origin story. It's interesting because, for different people, when they step into their missions and their purpose for children, it can look different ways, right? But whenever we have those amazing people that are kind of pointing us in the right direction, maybe they're not saying, hey, you need to, there's some people that say, hey, you need to do this. And then there's some people that give that little nudge and saying, why don't you try this on for says, kind of letting you experience your own journey itself and allow everything to be able to unfold. I can't speak on the behalf of the experience of my mom passing, but I can connect with the experience of my grandmother passing. And again, each person's grief journey is different, but it is a challenge in many respects. It is a difficulty. Specifically speaking, outside of the context of your mother passing, in terms of the challenges, the difficulties, the obstacles, the problems, the stressors, the troubles, the worries, we all experience those on our path, especially when we're stepping into what God has asked us to do. It would be great if everything, I always talk to myself about this, Symone. It's like, it'd be great if everything were rainbows and gumdrops. Okay, here we go. I'm moving on my path. And it's just all like a Super Mario Brothers game. But even Super Mario, I haven't played Nintendo in quite a long period of time. But even, with the wonderful world of Mario, he had, the bad guys that came along his path, and he had those obstacles. He had those obstacles that he experienced. So specifically speaking, when you knew that these books need to be brought into the world, and even when these books came out, shortly on, these may be more recent challenges you feel that you've experienced, but what are some of the challenges and difficulties of note that you feel that you've experienced along your path? And what were some of the things that helped you to get through to the other side of those challenges and difficulties?
I want to say 3 different areas that have been struggles, hurdles that I've been able to get over. One specifically being like, okay, God has given me this charge to write these books, to put them into the earth. What is self-publishing? What does that even look like? And do I have a market that I can target that is going to be interested in these books? And doing the research for that has definitely been a challenge, however, a rewarding challenge, because it's definitely put me in the position to say, okay, it was new to me. However, I'm learning as I'm going. And I think that's also part of the humbling experience of this. And every day is something new. So I'm learning things off of the cuff. The other area that has been a challenge for me is fully stepping into who I am in this process as an author. There's so many amazing authors out there now that have cultivated their niche, their writing styles, and really put pieces of themselves in the books that they produce, that they write. And I wanted to make sure that, within, the second area that's been a challenge for me is being authentic to who God created me to be, knowing that I don't need to be anybody else. I just need to be Symone, and that is more than enough in the books that I'm writing. Lastly, definitely patience. Because in the process of writing books and working with illustrators and book formatters and things of that nature, when you have like this burning desire to see something come to life, everything in life involves a process. And the beauty of that process is for us to be patient and to allow everything to work together so that a beautiful product can be produced at the end. So those have been the 3 challenges for sure. And what has helped me overcome to push through these hurdles, or jump these hurdles, if you will, is my faith. Knowing because God called me to do this, that I know that he's right here with me in the process. He's right there coaching me he's telling me when to jump and when to run, when to pivot, when to be patient, and to most importantly, to trust in him. So definitely my faith in God.
I appreciate your vulnerability in sharing those challenges because, again, this goes back to what I mentioned at the onset of our time together, that especially, even as we get older, we still want to fit in, right? And sometimes we'll do our part to, I'm wondering if this is a word, chameleonize. If not, I'm just making up a word. So like, we'll do our part. We'll do what we need to do in order to fit in, to be accepted, appreciated, loved, valued, cherished, you name it, right? And so this is why I definitely want to put a pin in the threads of faith and authenticity. We'll circle back to those during the latter part of our trolley stop here together. I also, before we dive into the pages of all 3 of your first 3 children's books, 12 children's books in 1 year. Now, I've done publicity work for children's authors. It'll be 10 years this summer, actually, 10 years in July. And when I first learned about you and your work, we started talking like 12 books in 1 year. I'm like, that could seem like a massive undertaking. I mean, it's definitely a challenge, and it's a challenge that you are embracing. But one of the things, we'll a little coming attraction towards the end of our children's book spotlight series episode, we'll give a little sneak peek of some of the forthcoming books that are going to be coming out in 2024. But I'm just curious to learn a little bit more about that, because that takes courage. That takes, I believe that Jewish people use the term chutzpah, right? It's not just, you don't see every regular children's author publishing 12 books in a year. Maybe they'll say, I want to publish 12 books in my career, or maybe 1 book a year for 12 years. But 12 books in 1 year, I mean, there are some people that might be like, wow, like, what's the secret sauce? Like, how are you doing it? And maybe if those are some things that you want to share, maybe things that you feel, things things that you feel have been helping you as you're moving through the process of, releasing these books, one per month, by the way, for the first 12 months for all of 2024. Could you talk just a little bit more about stepping into that realm of things? Because it's one thing to just walk into the kidlit arena with your gladiator armor on, right? And then it's one thing to be like, not only am I doing that, but I'm going to be writing and I'm going to be writing books and releasing them one per month for one full year. So could you share this a little bit more about what that's been like for you?
Mind-blowing for sure. I can tell you and the viewers here today that if I decided, Symone, if I decided, okay, you're going to write 12 books and this is how we're going to do it, I think I would be in a corner somewhere trying to figure out why. Why did I even put that as an option? It has been the Holy Spirit. So the Spirit of God that has been moving through me to write all of these books, giving me all of the insight in terms of the characters and helping me to understand the true logistics of actually publishing a book, printing a book, editing, book formatting, all of these different terms and lingo that a lot of creatives use. If I had my way, it would possibly be, oh, well, maybe we'll just release 2 books a year. And it's because of my growing relationship and me walking in obedience is why I, am doing this. Giving God my yes has been a major part of this. It is not easy by a long shot. However, the reward, the payoff of actually holding a physical book is indescribable.
Well, and I appreciate you touching upon this and really, going deeper in touching upon this further, because there are many children's authors just that I've encountered alone, some of the very best, what I call the 1% of the 1%, that would be scared beyond, they'd be petrified to be able to release 1 book per month and 12 books per year. And this is one of the things that is just a reminder. And again, we're going to be circling back on the faith thread momentarily, but if you are given a mission and a purpose, some people will use the word dharma as well too. If you are given something that could seem insurmountable, it's so important to not only believe in God, but to believe in yourself. Because it's interesting, when you do your part to have faith in yourself, it's like having faith in God, and vice versa. It has that cyclical effect, so to speak. We hope that all of you, our listeners and viewers, our friends and neighbors, and our fellow shining stars, are enjoying our trolley stop with children's author Symone Anderson. You are currently enjoying episode number 204 of the Children's Book Spotlight series. Momentarily, we will be diving into the pages. The little Forrest is really excited because that's one of his favorite parts of every Children's Book Spotlight series episode. We will be diving into the pages of her first 3 children's books that are releasing in 2024, the first of 12. That is not a typo. That is not a misprint. God, You Have Always Been With Me, Where Is Love, and Where Is Your Armor? They are all now available. You can head on over to Symone's official website, SymoneAnderson.com. One of the many ways you can also pledge your support for Symone is to head on over to Amazon.com, where you can leave your 5-star reviews if you feel called and guided to do so. For God, You Have Always Been With Me, for Where Is Love, and for Where Is Your Armor. Again, by leaving those 5-star reviews, you are letting Symone know that she is doing wonderful and much needed work for children, parents, families, educators, and for those who love great children's books. We always, of course, all of our listeners and viewers, our friends and neighbors, and our fellow shining stars, to also support the pillars of our community, which are our local libraries and our children's and independent bookstores. So if you walk into your favorite local library, your favorite children's or independent bookstore, and if you do not see your copies of God, You Have Always Been With Me, Where Is Love, and Where Is Your Armor, make that kind recommendation. Let them know that you heard about Symone Anderson's work here on the Children's Book Spotlight series. And again, that fellow librarian of yours, that fellow bookstore owner of yours, that fellow neighbor of yours, they can head on over to Symone's official website and connect with her for more information as to how these books and all of her others that are forthcoming can be stocked in your local library, your favorite children's or independent bookstore in the process. One of the favorite times during, as I mentioned, during each Children's Book Spotlight series episode is when we crack the cover and when we dive into the pages of the books that we are sharing here on the program. And we're talking about not just one book, not just two books, not just three books. That is correct. I feel like, when I'm talking about more than one book on a Children's Book Spotlight series episode, someone, I'm not sure if you were a big fan of Sesame Street growing up, but if you remember the count, right? It's like one book, two books, three books, and that's, it gives us a little bit of an additional reconnection with our inner child when you can mention Sesame Street. But starting off with God, you have always been with me. I feel that this is the perfect way to bring not only your work as a children's author into the world, because just as when we come into this world, and we normally don't like to give away the whole kit and caboodle, that's an old school expression, but we don't like to give away, the whole story here on the Children's Book Spotlight series. But I just love this book for so many reasons, especially the fact that it is the perfect bedtime story that a mother, a father, a grandmother, a grandfather can read to their little one, to their grandchild, because children's minds and hearts are always paying attention, even though they may not necessarily be. They're fully with it, even though they may not look like and sound like and seem like that they're fully with it. And the book really chronicles the journey of life and how, as we get older, that God is always with us. And I love the use of the passages from the Bible in the story as well, too. I feel it's that adds an extra added element of knowing that God is there. But could you share with us a little bit about the experience of putting this book together, and specifically what are some of the things that children and parents and families and even us as big kids, because I still feel, Symone, that children's books are called children's books, but they're disguised as children's books, and they're meant for us as big kids, right? Because we still have our inner child that lies within us, so to speak. So could you share with us about the journey of this first book, bringing this to form, to life, to creation, and some of the things that, again, that children and us as big kids will be able to enjoy with God, You Have Always Been With Me?
So in talking about God, You've Always Been With Me, this book, I believe, was birthed from a place of wanting to heal in the midst of my grief due to the loss of my mother. Still walking through my grief, I have had the privilege of actually knowing for myself that God is with me, and for my eyes to be open all the more now that He has always been with me, even when I didn't recognize it, even when challenges and difficulties were happening in my life, and more importantly, that even as I age, no matter what happens, He is walking with me through it all. The book in its entirety highlights the beauty and the significance and the importance of God's presence. So God is omnipresent, meaning that He's here with me in beautiful Charlotte. And He's here, He's there with you, John, as well. And He's there with all of you, all of the viewers today. That no matter what difficulties you face, what challenges lie ahead, when you go to sleep at night, when you wake up and you get out of your bed, oh, that rhymed, that God is there with us through thick and thin and championing us and wanting us to live an abundant life. So this book is a full expression of that.
And there's something about the illustrations as well, too. Your illustrator, Hameo Farm, did such a beautiful job, because I'm very big on, if there would be like one requirement of us as human beings, other than being, loving and kind to ourselves and one another, it would be like looking up at the stars in the sky. I'm a huge, big proponent of that. And so I really love the illustration spread when God is communicating with this little girl who is now, much older, telling me the things you know of how I will continue to grow and what beautiful things my life will hold. And then there's a passage from James chapter 1, verse 4. If you let that patience work in you, the end result will be good. You will be mature and complete. You will be all that God wants you to be. So it's interesting how, like, we're kind of coming full circle. You had mentioned patience, right, just a few moments ago. And I could kind of envision, not to assume and put two to two together, but I could be like, this is God talking to Symone here, right? But there's a connection and a thread with all of us. Like, we can be this girl, when we're having these heart-to-heart conversations with God as well, too. And again, just knowing the fact that God is always there with us, and the fact that you create and you share this book as a safe space for kids, which I really love. That, like, when you're in school, God is there. When you're outside looking at the stars, God is there. When you're walking in when you're taking your first steps in learning to walk, God is there. When you're coming home from the delivery room, God is there. That God is there, with us through the good times and the bad times, and the fact that this just provides more certainty in what could seem like, sound like, and feel like in an uncertain world. And I also love the fact that you can really feel God's presence and his care as well, too, because how many times, even, the strongest people who have got, the biggest faith can say, I feel like God's abandoned me, right? Like, many of us, we can have that abandonment wound, and it can look different ways for different people, but we can just wonder and say, has God forgotten about me? Right? And just the fact that you can sense, you can really connect with the fact that God is always there with us every step of the way. I also really love Where is Love, which is the second book that we're going to be talking about, because kids, as you know, they're very curious. They ask bazillions of questions, right? Especially children around the picture book age, right? It's a matter of, like, if you can imagine when, and I'm sure that we all did this growing up as kids, like when you're traveling on a family vacation, like, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? And we're, driving to Disney or whatever the trip may actually be, right? The fact that, love is something that can be felt, right? It doesn't necessarily look a certain way. Like, this is a little plushy star, right? But if I ask you, can you tell me what love looks like, sounds like, feels like, it can look like, again, different things to different people, especially with children. But the fact that you're sharing the power and the magnitude of God's love, and that it's everywhere, like it's in nature, it's within us, it's within the bond that we share with our friends when we're having a good meal, like, there's love when you cook your food. Could you share this a little bit more about the process of bringing to form and shape Where is Love, and some of the things that, again, children, parents, families, and us as big kids will be able to enjoy when they read and enjoy Where is Love?
I believe that this book, Where is Love, speaks to the kid in all of us, especially the adults. We can sit within, just take this moment and just sit and ask yourself, how many questions did I, does my children ask a day? Or think back when you were younger as a child, and you think back like, wow, I definitely asked a lot of questions. Do you ask, your mom and your dad, like, was I a very inquisitive child? And they're like, yes. This book really highlights the beauty of questions, the beauty of curiosity, the beauty of children, right? And so in this book, the main character, her name is Maria, she goes on this journey and just asking just all of these questions, like, where is love? Is love a person, place, or thing? Is love, around her? Is, she goes through this adventure in her neighborhood, in the world around her, trying to find the answer to this question. And I believe a lot of us, as we get older, we lose the answer to that question. And we tend to feel that love is in the tangible things, just, to what you were saying, John, that a lot of people can interpret love in different ways and what love means to them. And so in this book, the conclusion is that God is love, and that love is inside of each and every one of us. And love is in creation, and the things that we see and experience, and the food that we eat, and the people that we care about. And what an amazing way to convey to your children, to the people that you love, that yes, the love that's inside of you, the feelings that you get and they all stem from God.
Mm. And I'm really glad that you're also sharing this, because we need these reminders, especially us as grown adults. We need these reminders, especially we can think that love is outside of us. For all my single brothers out there and all my single sisters, how many times do we can find ourselves feeling incomplete if we're not in relationship, or we're not married, or we don't have a fiance or a partner, right? And it's a matter of like the ultimate love story is the one that we have with ourselves and the one that we have with God, right? And that whenever the person finally magically comes across our path, it's a compliment, right? It's not like, you can be strong and you can be confident within yourself without that other person being there, right? So it's important that one of the things that I know that this book is reminding many of us, especially us as grown adults, is the fact that it's about an inside job. That by loving ourselves, that then we're creating almost like this Disney-like vibe for ourselves, because then everything reflects back to us. Our external surroundings will say, okay, it'll reflect in the belief of you love yourself. Great. So we're going to provide you with more experiences to remind you that, yes, you love yourself. And sometimes it can be the exact opposite, right? Because there's times when you feel like, you don't love yourself. You're feeling a little bit challenged with that. And you're wondering, why there's some additional struggles on your path. I also love, again, that you're really connecting with the curiosity thread of the book, right? Because again, kids can ask so many questions about love, not just where is love, right? But, then there's that excitement, like, wow, like love is found in nature. How cool. And then like, there's the offshoots of that thread, right? And it's a matter of like, wow, okay, so when I'm, with my friends, love is there, right? And it's a matter of kids as they're learning and they're growing, they can feel that much more excited about life. And it's really important, I feel, this book specifically is that for those adults who might be moving through some form of heavier challenge right now, just the energy and the vibe within this. I mean, coming off the heels of Easter, one of my favorite illustration spreads, you've got a little girl and she's dancing with a bunny. And you see where it says, where is love? And there's little musical notes. And you see like a little bird flying by as well too. Just the lighter nature of this, reminding that we don't have to take life way too seriously, right? There's times where we have all of these earthly experiences. I call it adulting, right? We've got to take out the garbage and pay the taxes and, go to the grocery store and take care of the other bills, right? And if you have a little Shih Tzu Maltese like I do, a dog, you have to take care of your dog as well too. But again, love is fully present within us and within everything as well too. And again, it also covers some specific things about, I also love the thread, can love cover up the mistakes you made? Does love ever judge you or make you feel ashamed, right? So it goes even deeper with not just the surfacey stuff, right? Again, as kids, we can have those kinds of emotions and feelings. And as adults, we can tend to stuff things down. Right. So there's a lot of healing. Like I feel there's just so much healing that is found within your children's books. And then diving into the pages of where is your armor? It's interesting how a few moments ago I mentioned about you stepping into the kidlit arena, right, with your gladiator armor. And this is a perfect transition to this, because when we, as much as we want Earth and life to be this rainbow gumdrop energy, it's not. It involves a lot of faith and trust in yourself, and almost, especially if you're a sensitive soul, it involves like having this shield, right? And knowing the fact that when you're moving on your path, you may experience challenges. There may be people who don't want you to fulfill your life's purpose. As crazy and whatnot as that may sound, so to speak, this has a little bit of a different, it definitely is on that same heartfelt thread, but it definitely steps into a different side of you, a different element, so to speak, where it's a matter of like, again, you could easily have been afraid about talking about the importance of your faith and have your faith being your shield and your faith being your armor. and stepping more into this each and every day. Was that really a challenge for you, or was this again something that you really wanted to embrace? Because there could be some people that might say it's a little bit, maybe not for kids, that kind of thing. But you're really embracing the importance of, children, parents, families putting on their armor each and every day, and knowing the fact that the strength that lies within is within us. It's not the strength that comes from the outside world. It's the strength that comes from God, but it's also the strength that comes from within ourselves as well, too. So could you talk to us a little bit about where is your armor, if you could?
Absolutely. So before I get into the book, I just wanted to state that it is important as Christian believers, and for those who are even curious about knowing and having that desire to know about who God is, who Jesus Christ is, and the Holy Spirit, is that we do live in a fallen world, unfortunately. And it is so important to educate our family members, especially our children, to know that there are tools available, spiritual tools available that they can learn about and be excited about, to know that when they get up in the morning and they get ready to go to school, they can go and they're protected and they're ready to go and they're encouraged and they feel confident and they know that they can conquer anything. And that, with that armor and they're building that relationship with God, that anything is possible. So to dive into the book, Where's Your Armor? To set the stage, it is encompassed around a young lady who is an albino African-American young girl, and she's getting ready for church. And the reader goes all along with the main character. Her name is Jordan. And they discover where the pieces of armor are located. And Journey arrives at church with her dad, with her armor on, ready to go, and ready to share the word of God, the love of God, with anyone and everyone who is willing to hear. So this book really highlights and educates the readers and their families, and reaffirms in their families what the armor of God is, the several pieces of armor, and creates a space for conversation around the armor of God, and also an introductory conversation into, well, what is armor? Why do we need it? Who is God? Okay, so I have armor. Am I in like a army? Am I a soldier? So I believe it's a beautiful, beautiful story. It's an introduction into a much deeper conversation.
It is, and definitely I can imagine that this is a perfect book to be able to have as a conversation with your kids. Or if, let's say, you're taking this into Sunday school, for example, and you're talking with the little ones that you are teaching, this seems like the book that can create even more dialogue and more conversation. It's important to be able to open up the space and to welcome children's questions, because again, when you're taking the time to share these messages, each book, again, it seems like this is a relative word that I'm using many times here today, but it's like each book has a similar thread, but they're different unto themselves as well too. So one of the things that I really like about all three books is that they're uniquely different, yet they have a similar thread in between, really reminding children of the importance of also connecting with their faith. We're beginning to wind down our time with our featured guest here on episode number 204 of the Children's Book Spotlight series. Children's author Symone Anderson, one of the newest members of the PR from the Heart family. We encourage all of you, our listeners and viewers, our friends and neighbors, and of course our fellow shining stars, to head on over to Symone's official website, SymoneAnderson.com. And of course, heading on over to Amazon.com, if that is your preferred online vehicle of your choosing. You can purchase your copies, again, of God, You Have Always Been With Me, Where Is Love, and Where Is Your Armor. They are all now available. One of the many ways that you can pledge your support for Symone is by leaving 5-star reviews. For God, You Have Always Been With Me, Where Is Love, and Where Is Your Armor? That reminds her that she's doing wonderful and much needed work for children, parents, families, educators, and for those who love great children's books. Again, for all of you who love supporting the pillars of our communities, as we like to classify them, local libraries, children's and independent bookstores. If you walk into your favorite local library, your favorite children's bookstore, favorite independent bookstore, and you do not see copies of God, You Have Always Been With Me, Where Is Love, and Where Is Your Armor stocked, make that little kind recommendation. This is the little tip of the cap analogy that we like to use, Symone, here on the Children's Book Spotlight series. Make that kind recommendation to your favorite local librarian, your favorite children's or independent bookstore, that they stock these copies of these books that are very much resources of care for our children. And it's interesting. I want to mention this thread. I'm going in the direction of Mr. Rogers. We're going to be spending some time together at the Center for Media Innovation, little spoiler alert, but at the Center for Media Innovation in downtown Pittsburgh. David Newell and I, we're going to be having a full bookcast, a full edition of our Neighborly Reviews bookcast, which is PR from the Heart's popular children's book review platform. The month of May is going to be dedicated to you and to these books that we're talking about. So we're going to be able to dive deeper as well too. But there is a strong connection between you and Fred Rogers, and the fact that he used his platform. He was, for people who don't know, he was a Presbyterian minister, right? And there is a ministerial component to your work as well too. And I would like for you to touch upon that momentarily. But the fact that Mr. Rogers used his platform to connect with kids. Now, again, he didn't go super strong. It wasn't, if you watched episodes of The Neighborhood, you could really say, did he really talk about religion? And if anything, he talked about, the golden rule, treat others as you want to be treated, love yourself, love your neighbor. And that really is the core of what God is communicating with us. What has it been like for you having this ministerial component? You're really, keeping Mr. Rogers' memory and legacy alive in different ways, shapes, and forms, but you're also blazing your own trail. So what is it like to share your mission, your work, your message for kids and have it be in the form of ministry? Because sometimes when people hear the term ministry, they may think priest, rabbi, clergyman, nun, like just specific things that we're so used to for a long period of time. But you can minister to children in different capacities.
Absolutely. Within the beginning process of writing these books, these Christian children's books, I started to, within my prayer time, just having that classic, simple conversation with God and just being inquisitive myself of like, okay, is this going to be just solely a business? Do you just want me to write? Like, what is the overview of, me writing these books? And the Lord shared with me that this is ministry. He shared that through a few of the newer individuals that he has brought into my life, new friends. And I said, okay, this is my ministry. And so in 2023, November, December timeframe, 2023, the Lord gifted me the ministry WGW. And so WGW stands for When God Writes, because I completely understand and acknowledge that everything that I'm doing, and this is such a blessed experience for me to be able to write these books, that everything that I'm doing is because of him and it is through him. So I wanted to give him honor for that. So that, other people know and understand that it's not just another person in this world writing children's books or Christian children's books for that matter. It is God's work to be able to encourage and ignite young hearts.
And again, I love the fact that you're doing this through children's literature, because again, there are many people that just think that ministerial work has to look a certain way. And this is why, especially this is what the world needs more of, which is authenticity. And I want to be able to connect to that thread as well too, because again, we could easily ask ourselves, okay, if I'm really my truest, most authentic self, are the lights going to be on? Are the bills going to be taken care of? Am I going to be supported? Who's going to love me? Am I going to make it in life? You can have all these questions, right? And this is why, just as you were within the healthcare industry, I worked in the world of collections for 13 years. And I was in a very denser kind of energy. Ultimately, there were many things that I learned, like the importance of being kind to other people and loving myself and not, honoring my worth and my value. So there were things that I took away from that experience, right? But it's also just being you. Could you talk to us about this may seem so simple and like back to basics, but I think that we need these reminders, especially now. We're stepping into the second quarter of 2024. We're now beyond Easter. Could you talk to us about why it's paramount to really embrace authenticity, to be ourselves, to encourage our fellow neighbors to be authentic as well too? Why do you feel that really is not even just important, but really a paramount characteristic that we really need to have right now, a way in which we need to be when we're doing what it is that we're doing each and every day in our journey of life?
It is so important. It's so important for people to be who God made them to be, because it's so easy to look, let me use this example, but it's so easy to kind of look over at your neighbor's fence to see like what their yard looks like, so you can imitate that. And I believe that takes away from the beauty of you allowing your gifts and your talents that, again, God has given you to flourish and to be able to inspire other people. I believe that the way that each of us are, how we are made, how we came into the world and who we are right now in this moment, that there's something so beautiful about that. And people are waiting on that. They're waiting on you to be you. They're waiting on you to walk fully and just be everything that God has envisioned for you. I think that a lot of people shy away from being truly who they are because they want to appease other people and they want to fit into other people's expectations and ideas of them. And I want to just encourage all of the viewers that I am an example of that I had to make a decision that I am beautiful, that I am fearfully and wonderfully made, and that I was sent on this earth to do amazing things. And there's only one me, and I need to fully embrace that and walk in that with the utmost confidence. And so if I can do it, you most certainly can do it.
And that's perfectly shared, Symone. And that's something, it involves practice, right? It involves, like, each and every day we take the time to be, that much more authentic tomorrow than what we were today, right? And that when there's times when we feel flat and maybe we, gave our power away, or we didn't believe in ourselves, we just become more aware of that, more conscious of that. And then we do our part to move forth. And just, again, it's a whole process. This is where the importance of grace comes in as well too. We always like to provide some supportive information, whether it be tips, tools, strategies for parents, caregivers, grandparents, those who love great children's books, so that in essence, when they watch a children's book spotlight series episode, they can immediately implement what it is that they learn in their own life and in the lives of the children that they watch, that they take care of, whether it be their own children, their grandchildren, if they're educators, their students. Specifically speaking on the realm of faith, easier said than done, right? Again, but this is also where the practice comes in, so to speak. In terms of us as parents, as caregivers, as custodians of little ones, what are some simple everyday things that help to turn the needle, that will help us to be able to connect with our children more on the realm of their faith? Because, little ones, as they're growing up, they're relying on us and they need to have these friendly reminders, just as we're giving ourselves these friendly reminders. So what are some specific things on the realm of helping children connect with their faith and strengthen their faith? What are a few specific things that actually come to mind that we can do to be able to provide a greater level of support for our little ones and really hold the space for them that much more at the same point in time?
There's a few things that come to mind. I'm going to try to keep it a little short and sweet. The first is to speak life into your children. So in the morning prior to starting their day, telling them that they are fearfully and wonderfully made, telling them that they're going to be successful, telling them that they are uniquely made and that nothing is out of place. And also, it's not that I'm against the word affirmation, but essentially that's what I'm talking about, to be able to say, as you're getting your child ready for the day, that I am beautiful, I am smart, I am talented, I am gifted, I am worthy, I am important, I am valuable. Saying those things to your children and having them, if they're able to speak back to you, repeat that back, really gets those words are powerful. So saying those words to your children allows them to kind of start to internalize them, and then they start to believe it. So I believe that is something that a lot of adults, educators, and guardians, so to speak, can really share with their children. The second thing that comes to mind is that at the end of the day, or even on the weekend, involving your children in prayer, making prayer, we all understand that, yes, having your own individual time with God is intimate. Absolutely. However, when it comes to children and just cultivating their hearts and their minds to be able to, have them be led, to they say, okay, I want to learn more about God and Jesus. Allowing them and educating them on prayer and the importance of prayer is so needed, because there are times, where, if you have kids and you drop them off at school or you're doing things, they're not always around you. And so to be able to create that habit and that space and that behavior at home, to say, let's pray together. What's on your heart? What do you want to share with God today? And giving them that space and that platform, to say, well, today I had a good day. I want to share that with God, and then to encourage that behavior. Or today was a very difficult day, Dad, or Mom, and I want to be able to share this with God. To let them know that God can handle big emotions and that God cares, even about the small things as well as the big things. And lastly, to play some good gospel music. I think that's important too. Allowing music to be a very intricate part. Of course, music is a very intricate part of life, right? For all my music lovers out there. However, in the space of building faith and encouragement, gospel music is amazing, because there's so many different types of gospel music now, to where you can dance and you can, do all these things and get them excited about expressing themselves for God and expressing just what's in their heart. So I believe those are three things that all of us can do more of, especially with our children in our faith walk, to help.
And I feel that those are all essential. Those can be utilized in a regular capacity, and our children can not only connect with their faith, but they can strengthen it each and every day. And we can do that alongside them in the process, which is always a good feeling. To pardon another phrase from our favorite neighbor, Mr. Rogers, that really is such a good feeling. We always like, just as when you watch a movie, before the movie starts, you get coming attractions. And as we'd alluded to during our time earlier on in our children's book spotlight series interview here, we talked about the fact that there are other books that are forthcoming between, April into year's end. Maybe necessarily we don't have the time to be able to mention all of the books, because then this would be a really jam-packed, epic size of the children's book spotlight series. But can you share maybe a few of the specific themes that you're going to be covering and diving into, maybe even a couple of the titles, whatever you want to be able to share, mention, because of course our listeners and viewers are going to be able to stay connected through your website and your social media platforms. We encourage you to keep the conversation going post Children's Book Spotlight series. We've included links to Symone's official Instagram and Facebook pages in the description below as well. But can you give us a little bit of a sneak peek for those who have loved what they've heard of? We're really scratching the surface of what it is that you're bringing into the world for children, parents, families, educators, and those who are strengthening their faith each and every day with God.
Absolutely. So 3 titles immediately popped into my mind, and thank you, Holy Spirit, for that. One book that will be coming out in May is titled For You, Lord, I Will Dance, and it is involving praise, dance, and worship. And I'm so excited about that. It involves a beautiful collection of illustrations that showcase praise dancing in the most heartfelt, impactful way possible. The other two books that are going to be coming later this year, one is going to be released in October, and the title is Whom Shall I Fear? The theme, of course, is around the holiday, Halloween, and there is a main character. Her name is Kristen, I believe. Yes, Kristen. And she is kind of going throughout her day and running errands, and she sees all of these different decor items and things of that nature and neighbors dressing up their house. And she's like, no, whom shall I fear? I'm not going to fear anything. And it talks about just the power of knowing that you don't have to be afraid. You don't have to be afraid if you are in Christ. And the last book of the year, which is centered around Christmas, the book title is I Can Declare, I Can Decree. It talks about our authority as sons and daughters in Jesus Christ and how we can declare and decree, and it shall be. So I'm super excited about those books, along with many others that will be coming out this year.
So in essence, one of the things here every once in a while at the children's book spotlights is we give a little bit of a glimpse into the future, right? So if you ever wanted to know what the future looks like, the future is very much filled with bright blessings, right? That's a lot of alliteration, but so true as well. And as we're talking about these other books, of course, these are great gifts that you can already have for Thanksgivings, for Christmases. I mean, these are really the gifts that keep on giving. Again, we encourage all of you, our listeners and viewers, our friends and neighbors, our fellow shining stars, again, to stay connected with Symone on social media. As we mentioned, we've included her Facebook and her Instagram handles below so you can keep the conversation going post Children's Book Spotlight Series. The two ways that we close out every Children's Book Spotlight Series episode, we felt his presence. He's always with us. You know that I'm a big fan, proponent of our favorite neighbor, Mr. Rogers, of course, in many respects, in many ways, shapes, and forms, when he, on the neighborhood, when he traveled across the country for different talks and commencement speeches at colleges and universities across the country, most notably when he received his Lifetime Achievement Award shortly before he passed from stomach cancer, his Lifetime Achievement Award at the Daytime Emmys shortly before he passed from stomach cancer. He always encouraged us to remember those who loved us into being. And that was his way of remembering those earth angels of sorts that help to remind us that we are fearlessly and wonderfully made, that we can do it, whatever it is that has been put into our hearts as a mission, that we can love ourselves just the way that we are. We obviously took the time to recognize your mom earlier on in the Children's Book Spotlight Series, and we're also remembering her when we're mentioning this because there's no doubt that she helped love you into being. Who are some of the other people that you would like to publicly recognize who have helped love you, Symone Anderson, into being?
There's so many people. I want to say 5 to 7 groups of women have truly ushered me into this new season in my life and have covered me. The Sisters in Christ Women's Ministry out of Louisa, Virginia, and also my newest friends here in Charlotte, North Carolina, that I met through my church home, which is Union Church in Concord, North Carolina, and all of my friends and loved ones, and a few specific people, my father and my stepmother and my young brother and my 2 godmothers, Zita and Denise. So yes, just there's so many individuals who have spoken life into me and who have helped me get to this point and who are along for the ride to see what else God has in store for me in my author career and in my life. Very blessed.
And thank you for mentioning those beautiful hearts, because I believe it was Fred that had mentioned that no matter where those people are, if they are near or far, if they're with us here on earth, or if they're watching down from heaven, that those beautiful hearts and beautiful souls know the indelible impact that you're making on your own life and the impact that you're making on the lives of other people as well, too. In addition to being strong supporters of Mr. Rogers and Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, we are also huge Disney buffs here at the Children's Book Spotlight Series. There's something about the Disney energy. It's interesting because, sometimes little Forrest needs something to chew on, and he has a little Tigger right here. He has this little jar of honey. So this is where he has all of his little Winnie the Pooh characters. So he's got Piglet, and he's got Pooh, and he's got Eeyore, and he's got Tigger, right? So it helps us to connect with our inner child, and it also calms little Forrest down in the same point in time. But we go back to the year 1992, and before I mention this and go any further, is the fact that we have the ability to bring to form and shape our dreams, our desires, our goals, our ambitions. We have the ability to fulfill our own wishes. And we have the ability, when God brings people into our lives, those that are, those who are in a family that we have a connection with, those who were called and blessed to be of service to, we have the ability to help to bring to form and shape the wishes and the dreams of those people on our path, our fellow neighbors. And so we go back to the year 1992. It was a great year. I believe I was 11, if I'm not mistaken. Phenomenal, fantastic year. And so we remember the late Robin Williams. We remember that he voiced the genie of the lamp, and we remember Disney's animated classic. And in fact, I will be seeing it this forthcoming Wednesday at the Civic Theater in San Diego, because it is the kickoff of Disney's Aladdin, the touring production of the Aladdin musical. Of course, wherever we go, wherever the Children's Book Spotlight Series go, we have our trusted genie lamp. So Symone, we have a little segment here on the program called 3 Wishes. So you have given freely to children, parents, families, educators, to those who are walking in their faith, for those who are stepping into their faith, maybe for the first time in their entire life. This is your time to receive. So you are being given 3 wishes. I think the only automatic disqualifiers, you can't make someone fall in love with you, and you can't ask for more wishes. I think those are the only automatic disqualifiers. So you are being given 3 wishes. What would they be?
Oh man. Okay. 3 wishes. First one would be to take a year-long vacation around the world, to see the world, all expenses paid, just to go see everything that I can possibly see. Second wish, that there wouldn't be any homeless people, that all homeless people, widows, orphans would be taken care of. And lastly, I would actually give my last wish away to someone else who would need it.
That's beautiful. And I really believe that when our wishes come from our hearts, that we have a greater chance of them coming to form and to shape. There's a greater chance of those wishes coming to fruition. Now, when, of course, we also wrap up the Children's Book Spotlight Series, this is little Forrest's friendly reminder of saying, if you remember back in the day, in the 1980s, the 1990s, and the early 2000s, there was the beloved movie critic duo, Siskel and Ebert, and when they loved a movie, they would give it 2 thumbs up. Well, one of the fastest growing endorsements in the world of children's literature is when little Forrest gives 2 paws up for a children's book. So technically, I think little Forrest is giving 6 paws up, because little Forrest has thoroughly enjoyed God, You Have Always Been With Me, Where Is Love, and Where Is Your Armor? Again, it is one of the fastest growing endorsements in the world of children's literature. So again, little Forrest proudly gives 2 paws up for God, You Have Always Been With Me, for Where Is Love, and Where Is Your Armor? As we hear the trolley, that means that it is time to go. But fear not, there are many more magical trolley stops to come, and we're going to be talking about those momentarily. Again, we encourage all of you, our listeners and viewers, our friends and neighbors, and of course, our fellow shining stars, to head on over to Symone's official website, SymoneAnderson.com. We've included her social media platforms below so you can keep the conversation going post Children's Book Spotlight Series. If you head on over to your favorite local library, your favorite children's and or independent bookstore, and you do not see them stocking copies of God, You Have Always Been With Me, Where Is Love, as well as Where Is Your Armor, you can make that kind recommendation that they do. That is your way of putting these beautiful books out more so into the world and helping people to be able to connect to the love and the joy and all of the good stuff within ourselves, and to be able to help children be able to connect with their faith that much more so in the process. You are truly supporting the pillars of our community by doing that as well, too. And again, by leaving that 5-star review, technically that's several 5-star reviews, right? So again, whether it be for God, You Have Always Been With Me, Where Is Love, and Where Is Your Armor? Again, those are just one of the many ways that you can pledge your support for Symone to let her know that she's doing wonderful and much needed work for children, parents, families, educators, and for those who love great children's books. But when we hear the trolley, that means that it is time to go. But again, more magical trolley stops to come, including we are very much looking forward to our next trolley stop. Every once in a while, we give a little coming attraction for those who are eagerly anticipating the next Children's Book Spotlight Series episode. 2 things specifically come to mind. If you would like to be connected before anyone else to find out the latest episodes, what is forthcoming on the Children's Book Spotlight Series, as well as the Neighborly Reviews bookcast with myself and David Newell, be sure to head on over to PR from the Heart's official website and subscribe to our all-new newsletter. In the process, you will be able to get 3 simple yet powerful spring PR publicity tips for children's authors. So you get a free gift as part of subscribing to PR from the Heart's official newsletter. But as part of episode number 205 of the Children's Book Spotlight Series, not only one of the top children's authors in the world, but one of the most popular authors, period, in the world, New York Times bestselling author, the creator of the beloved Ordinary People Change the World series. You've seen him recently on Late Night with Seth Meyers. You've seen him on MSNBC's Morning Joe. You've seen him on Good Morning America. His brand new release, I Am Mr. Rogers, as well as I Am Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the latest installments in the Ordinary People Change the World series. Brad Meltzer will be joining us here as our featured guest here in episode number 205 of the Children's Book Spotlight Series, and we will not be traveling alone. The gentleman that is above my shoulder here, you remember him and you love him as the popular Mr. McFeely on the long-running children's television program, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. We know him and we love him as David Newell. He is going to be jumping ship and actually going from the Neighborly Reviews bookcast to this very special episode of the Children's Book Spotlight Series as my favorite. I guess technically we're going to be having 2 co-hosts for that episode, little guy. So episode number 205 is going to be having David Newell as our special guest co-host, and we are going to be interviewing again New York Times bestselling author, the co-creator of the Ordinary People Change the World series, Brad Meltzer. But again, if you are a children's author, if you are a middle grade author and would love to be able to share your inspiring story and the release of your brand new book on a forthcoming edition of the Children's Book Spotlight series, you know where to connect with us. Head on over to our official website, prfromtheheart.com, or connect with us via any of our social media platforms that you now see on screen, Facebook and Instagram and Twitter/X, all at PR from the Heart. As we had mentioned before, the next 2 months, April and May, the trolley is going to be traveling all across the country once again from San Diego to Pittsburgh, and we will be spending time with Symone as well as some other amazing children's authors. Make sure that you circle the whole entire month of May on your calendar, because in the month of May, Symone's featured Neighborly Reviews bookcast episode will be premiering from the Center for Media Innovation in downtown Pittsburgh. David Newell and I, of course, we are going to be giving neighborly reviews of God, You've Always Been With Me, and Where Is Love. And Symone will also be talking a little bit more about Where Is Your Armor. If you are a children's author and would love for David Newell and I to deliver a heartfelt review on a forthcoming edition of the Neighborly Reviews bookcast, to be able to spotlight your brand new children's book on a forthcoming edition of the program, you know where to connect with us via our official website, prfromtheheart.com, or any of our social media platforms. Again, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter/X. And there are many authors whose journeys are taking flight. We are so blessed to be able to be of service to some of the top names in the world of children's literature. Spend some quality time with John Parra and with Catherine Roy, ranging to those authors whose journeys are now just taking flight in the process, whose first and or second books are now being released to the world. If you are a children's author and are looking for more dedicated support to be able to share your inspiring story, the release of your brand new children's book, and to most importantly, reach more parents, families, grandparents, educators, and you want to be able to do that through the media, connect with us via our official website, prfromtheheart.com. Schedule your courtesy connection call and let us see how we can be of service to you so that we can help you to facilitate your own book media tour in a city of your choosing or a national book media tour like Symone is crisscrossing the country. You can stay connected to PR from the Heart's official social media platforms. This is my version of going crisscross the country, right? So this is Symone, right? And she's going all across the country. You can watch and enjoy all of her featured television interviews as she shares all of her amazing work that very much she is currently in the process of doing. And one final time, head on over to Symone Anderson's official website, SymoneAnderson.com. You can purchase your copies of God, You Have Always Been With Me, Where Is Love and Where Is Your Armor through her official website as well as through Amazon.com. Be sure to leave those 5-star reviews. Again, those are just some of the many ways you can pledge your support for Symone, letting her know that she's, again, doing wonderful and much needed work for children, parents, families, educators, and for those who love great children's books. And stay connected to Symone's official website because there are 9 more books coming in 2024. So much more magic. There's so much more magic and miracles, not only to come on the Children's Book Spotlight series, but in the life of Symone Anderson as well, too. But again, as we hear the trolley, that means that it is time to go. If this episode has brought love and joy into your mind, into your heart, if you say, Symone, John, my faith is that much stronger as the result of the time that we spent here together today, well, then we encourage you, if you feel guided to do so, to subscribe to PR from the Heart's official YouTube channel and to share this very special trolley stop that you have now been enjoying. That is episode number 204 of the Children's Books Spotlight series. Raise your hand, by the way, if you have had fun on the Children's Book Spotlight series. We always like to make sure that everyone had fun. Symone has her hands up. I have my hands up. Little Forrest has his paws up. We see the hands of the children on screen as well, too. As we like to say, that means mission accomplished, job well done. We want to thank you for your continued support, PR from the Heart, for your continued support of the Children's Book Spotlight series, for your continued support of children's authors and illustrators, such as Symone, who again are doing wonderful and much needed work for children, parents, families, educators, and those who love great children's books, for your continued support of local libraries, children's and independent bookstores, truly the pillars of our community. But above all else, we want to thank you for helping us to walk home the children of the world. One final time, we give a little tip of the cap to our favorite neighbor, Mr. Rogers. In many respects, Mr. Rogers reminded us of our inherent worth and our inherent value. He reminded us how special that we were. And in many respects, he did it simply by weighing what he weighed while he was walking this earthly plane. Did you know that Mr. Rogers weighed 143 pounds while he was here on Earth? 1 letter in I, 4 letters in love, 3 letters in you. That was his way, in his own private numerology of sorts, I guess. He reminded us that he loved us just the way that we were. So as little Forrest was kind enough to spend some quality time with us, as well as Symone as well, too. As a little tip of the cap to our favorite neighbor, Mr. Rogers, we share our favorite 3 numbers as we close out this program. 243. There's 2 letters in we, 4 letters in love, 3 letters in you. That is our reminder to all of you that you are loved, that you are special, that you are whole, that you are healthy, that you are complete, that we like you, that we love you just the way that you are. We see you, we see your inherent worth, we see your inherent value, and we see the divine being that you are, again, that we like you and we love you just the way that you are. So for little Forrest, for Symone Anderson, for myself, John Masiulionis, thank you for enjoying this magical trolley stop, episode number 204 of the Children's Book Spotlight series. We look forward to seeing you for an extra special trolley stop for episode number 205 as New York Times bestselling author and the co-creator of the Ordinary People Change the World series, Brad Meltzer, joins David Newell, who played the beloved Mr. McFeely on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and I for our next trolley stop. And there are many more magical trolley stops to come here on the Children's Book Spotlight series and here at PR from the Heart in the month of April and beyond. So again, we hope that you, your family, your loved ones had a blessed Easter, that you continue to enjoy the spring season, and we will see all of you once again for more trolley stops here on the Children's Book Spotlight series. Thank you for helping us to walk home the children of the world, our fellow friends, our fellow neighbors, and our fellow shining stars. Goodbye for now.